America, you're inside the Business Pulse, brought to you by the Freedom Chamber, online at freedomchamber.net. It is the pro-American business network. We're joined by the usual suspects, Rod Martin, The Martin Report. Get it online at rodmartin.org. And Dean Owen, owencpa.com. Gentlemen, welcome back in.
Thanks for having us.
Rod, we missed you last week, bud. You know, you're out on assignment. I don't know what that assignment was. Maybe it was fishing. Maybe it was, doing some good stuff. But hopefully, whatever it was, we're happy you're back, and we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about what I witnessed the other morning as I'm taking my dog out to do what my dog does in the morning. All of a sudden, I see National Guard helicopters flying over my house, headed southeast towards Chicago. It's happening right now as we speak. We've had some... Now, I want to call them raids on businesses, but I know there was a warehouse just outside of O'Hare that had ICE and National Guard show up, and they've arrested people. And that's what needs to have happen because those people are here illegally. So I welcome your thoughts and the pushback that you're seeing from just the loony left online about what's happening in Chicago. Dean, we'll start with you, bud.
Well, it's, those guys are doing God's work. And I cannot for the life of me figure out how the left sees a problem with. They are simply enforcing the laws that are on the books. If the Congress doesn't like the laws that are on the books, they should change them. These laws were written under Democrat and Republican administrations, and when there were Democrats or Republicans had a power in the House. So there's something going on in the background. I believe it's probably going back to that idea of undue influence over our politicians to degrade America. There's a psychological operation going on in this country. We all know it, largely coming from China. And because the left has decided that they're going to take the 15 to 20% issue on every single topic. Keeping people safe and not dying is not a political, that's not a controversial topic. And yet it has become one. And then the way the Democrats are working, they will not cooperate with ICE, and they won't let their sheriff and their city police departments cooperate. So that puts the ICE officers having to go into far more dangerous situations than going down whenever the local police arrest someone illegal for a crime or a serious infraction, and they've got them in the jail. Instead of cooperating with ICE, which makes it safer for everyone, then they turn them loose. Now, and what kind of just absolute moronic insanity is that? You're talking about people with serious crimes. You're not talking about somebody who jaywalked. That's not what we're talking. That's who they're. And by doing so, when they have to go out and do these raids to find where the hardcore criminal illegals are, then they come across the folks who are just here illegal and they're working illegal, and they haven't committed any other crimes. They have committed that crime. Well, of course, the law says that ICE has to arrest them, take them into custody, and get them processed. That's what the law says. So that's what's happening. And how any political party would want to oppose that is absolutely beyond any rational comprehension of even the youngest minds.
Oh, let's give it a try. There is rhyme or reason to this, and it's twofold. One, Donald Trump is embarrassing these people to death. If you can send the Guard into the streets of Washington, D.C., one of the murder capitals of the planet, and in 2 weeks' time have only one murder, cut violent crime in half, and these guys don't even have arrest power. They don't have authority to arrest you. They can detain you long enough for a police officer to come and make a determination of whether there can be a valid arrest, and then they make the decision. So with that little help, you completely clean up Washington in a matter of days. That is utterly humiliating to the mayors of Chicago and New York and San Francisco and Los Angeles and countless others that have been run by Democrats now for, in some cases, more than a century. All of the blood that has been spilled in these cities. There were 54 shootings in Chicago just over Labor Day weekend. All of this blood is on their hands through a combination of incompetence and ideology. And that's the second strand. There was a time when we had Democrats like Bill Clinton who called for 100,000 new police officers, who actually called for significant border enforcement. And in fact, Bill Clinton actually deported 10 million people. So, by the way, it can be done. It has been done in recent memory. But those guys are gone. They are not running the party. The people running the party today are the actual 60s radicals who were burning down cities and running amok on campuses, and their children. These people are true believer socialists. They're not hiding it. They're not pretending. Just ask their heroes, Bernie Sanders and AOC. These people are the real red deal. And they want to use criminality to bring about the conditions for the revolution. They want to encourage criminals because they see them as an intersectional minority group rather than as a threat to society. And they don't care if you die, because what they only care about ever, as we saw in the 14 catch and release instances of Irina's killer, what they care about is power. And that is the only thing motivating some of these people.
Yeah, we can dive into that subject because it unfortunately dovetails into what we've seen with catch and release. And it just a report out here in Illinois that the Illinois State Police can't tell you how many times a criminal that's been released from prison has actually come back. They can't find the records on that. How convenient.
How interesting that they
Yes.
can't. I'm sure that's a complete oversight on their
Yeah,
part.
and I just read the report on wirepoints.org, which is a great newsletter that I don't know if it's as great as the rodmartin.org, the Martin report, but Wirepoints did a story on that, on the Illinois State Police. They're not able to tell you if Joe Smith or Josephine Smith were in jail and they got out, and did they get arrested and come back? They have no records of that. I find that just horrible. So, and that leads us
Impossible
to what
to believe.
happened. Yeah, exactly. And that leads us what happened in Charlotte on the train. Dean, I know you've got thoughts about that. It's just absolutely horrific, avoidable, criminal, and in people's heads, it's insanity what we're going through.
No rational person. If you've got a soul at all, your heart bleeds for that family. She fled Ukraine for obvious reasons, and it shows you that some of our cities are less safe than Ukraine. And she wasn't killed in Ukraine. She was on our trains. So the stuff with the crime is serious. And we talk about 54 shootings. Those are 54 people that have brothers and sisters and sons and daughters and mothers and fathers. Those are human beings. Those are people. And, a lot of that is pure innocence. Some of it's children. But the crime stuff that we see is going on, and, the reports you get every single day of how many children ICE has picked up that were being trafficked, and just, we're going through a process, and unfortunately we have to go through this process. The good news is that we are finally going through this process, and it hurts, but you've got to crush out the evil. This is a demonic attack on America, and we have to go through this process to get it cleaned up. And
yeah,
we all know
I agree with everything you're saying. And from a business point of view, you just had a Rolex store on Michigan Avenue smashed and grabbed the other day, and everybody's like, well, that's convenient timing. No, that's what happens on Michigan Avenue in Chicago. You've got business owners in Chicago now that are taking a stand that they're tired of their staff being robbed when they leave the premise. They're tired of their, restaurants being robbed. They're tired of people getting up and not paying a bill. They're tired. They're fed up. The Black community is welcoming ICE and the National Guard into the community. It's the radicals that like the control over the Black population that don't want them there, because once they see that it can be done, they lose their power and control. Aldermen are starting to wake up to the fact that, hey, we need to get on board with this, or we're not going to win the next election. Brandon Johnson, completely over his head. Governor Pritzker, horrible, criminal, what you're doing. Take a call from President Trump. He now says that he doesn't want to take the call because it could use itself in court if he ever went to court about it. Those are the lies. Those are the gates they're putting up to not have change happen in the city of Chicago and around the United States that needs to happen. Mr. Martin, Rod, your point of view on this.
Well, it's just horrifying.
It is.
You have another Soros district attorney in Charlotte. They let this guy go 14 times. The most recent was just a few weeks ago. He's a known violent criminal who has committed multiple violent offenses. Oh, but it gets better. His brother is a murderer. His father is a violent criminal. Charlotte has done nothing about these people. And, they believe this is compassion. They speak of it as compassion. Democrats speak of it as compassion. It's not compassionate on the innocent. And honestly, if we aren't there, if we're spending lavishly on government, we can at least assume, we can at least expect that it would protect that first of our unalienable rights, life, without which liberty and the pursuit of happiness are impossible. This young lady demonstrates just how quickly Democrats lose their interest in both refugees and in Ukraine the minute it ceases to fit their narrative. It is shameful. It is absolutely one of the most reprehensible things we've seen, but perhaps the most reprehensible is that as of the last time I checked, the New York Times, which ran 5,800 articles on George Floyd, over 1,200 articles on Trayvon Martin, had run 0 articles on Irena. So how can you explain this except they simply want to control thought? They want to censor anything that opposes their narrative because they're seeking power. They're not seeking justice. They're not seeking to relieve oppression. They're seeking power at your expense and at the cost of your children.
If that was a black woman or black man, and it was white people around that black woman or black man that got murdered, Charlotte would be up in flames right now.
Yes.
Minneapolis would be in flames. Chicago, New York, Philly, Baltimore, Memphis, all of them would be burning to the ground for justice. But
Which,
no.
by the way, is another key problem with the left. Why would you burn down your own city in protest of anything? If it's important that people not be killed, which is supposedly what we're saying in the George Floyd case, in the Trayvon Martin case, etc., if it's important that they had a chance to live, why would we then go threaten hundreds or thousands of lives by rioting and burning down cities? It is absurd, it is obscene, and it is not about justice. It is about the revolution.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dean, final thought on this subject, on this inside of this segment.
Well, let me change the subject a little bit to go
ahead.
back. There was a couple of big reports out in the last couple of days. The Bureau of Labor Statistics downgraded 911,000 so-called jobs that were created, and inflation came in at 0.2. So, Rod and I talked about this, and again, I say this humbly, but if I don't tell you, you may not know. We put this information out that this was going to happen, that the Bureau of Labor Statistics had been politicized. It was trying to boost things for Harris, trying to boost it for the last election. That's been taken care of now. We talked about the job market had cracked, and we see it. We saw it with the latest job numbers. It's not broken, but it's cracked. We saw it with inflation. It's not being shot up by tariffs. That is not happening. And Rod and I both explained why that is not going to be the case. And so the things that we've talked about and we predicted and we said this is how the world really works are proving themselves true. And again, I do not say that to be arrogant, but this is a place, Freedom Chamber is a place you can get information you can rely on, you can trust, and you can act upon with the level of confidence that you cannot have that level of confidence coming out of any kind of mainstream media. And that
Absolutely.
includes
That's for
includes
sure.
some of it on the right too.
And the only thing I would add to that is that if you don't have honest numbers out of your government, you're in the same position you're in communist China. If the government isn't reporting these numbers honestly, your business decisions will be off, your hiring decisions will be off, and by the way, your voting decisions will be off. And that's the intent. They want to skew society in their political favor by lying constantly, even in basic statistics. And until we're able to root that out, and Donald Trump is making a great start, it's just horrifying. And I'll leave you with one anecdote on that. Scott Bessent, our incredible Treasury Secretary, said the other day that one of his most profitable trading strategies when he was trading for a living was to just do whatever the opposite of the Federal Reserve's numbers said to do. That's horrifying, but that's probably more incompetence than deceit. Either way, the economy and the electorate cannot function properly without honest numbers.
Absolutely. He's Rod Martin of the Martin Report. You can find him online at rodmartin.org. I highly recommend you subscribe to it like I do. And that's Dean Owen of Owen CPA. He has a newsletter too. I highly recommend you subscribe to that if you're looking for great intel. And speaking of intel, we're going to have Kristen Jackson. She's the co-founder and CEO of FreeSpoke, a brand new search engine that uses AI, and it doesn't let you see, it lets you see everything with an unbiased eye. Find out next. Kristen Jackson coming up next on the Business Pulse.
One last thought before we go.
Dean, go ahead, bud.
One last thought.
I love it.
Now, what did Rod and I say about Jerome Powell and interest rates? And what do we know? What did we say back weeks ago? And what do we know now? They're going to cut. They should have been cut a whole lot earlier. President Trump was right when he said they should have been cutting a long time ago and by a whole lot more. And here we are. It's proven.
What we should do is have Kristen put that inside of FreeSpoke and see what it spits out. How's that sound? She'll be up next
good.
inside the Business Pulse. Stand by, America.
Hey, the Freedom Chamber is amazing. I'm so glad that we get to be here on the Freedom Chamber's Business Pulse. This is an organization you should support. It's an organization of which you should be a member. The Freedom Chamber is getting important things done in this country. And honestly, we need spaces for people who believe the sorts of things that if you're watching this, you probably do. We have gone through this extended period of not just canceling individuals, but just boycotting businesses and doing terrible things, debanking. Nigel Farage, who is likely to be the next prime minister of the United Kingdom, was actually debanked by all the major banks in the United Kingdom. And of course that happens here, and we get de-insured and all these terrible things. The Freedom Chamber is fighting for you. The Freedom Chamber is here to make sure that you're protected, that your values matter, they count, and they're in the public square. So I encourage everybody to join the Freedom Chamber.
America, welcome back inside the Business Pulse. I'm Chuck Barham, joined by Rod Martin, Dean Owen, and now the co-founder and CEO of FreeSpoke, Kristen Jackson. Kristen, welcome into the Business Pulse.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us about FreeSpoke. I can give you what I know. It's an AI tool built for independent thinkers that love privacy and the full truth. I know we use it inside here at the Freedom Chamber, but tell us why people should dive into FreeSpoke at freespoke.com.
FreeSpoke is that information tool that puts you back in control. Big tech doesn't have control. FreeSpoke doesn't have control. FreeSpoke is all about putting you in control. So how do we do that? We're best in class in 3 areas. We have an entire unique index of content. So our content ranges from right labeled content to left labeled content. We have mainstream and non-mainstream, and we have podcast insights. And we take a consensus across all of that content, and we give you a consensus overview. We then break down division perspectives so you can see that full story. And then we show you insights from podcasts tuned to the moment in the podcast, so what you searched for. So you can actually hear directly from the voices and the experts talking about that topic. And by doing that, we give you all the information, nothing's hidden, nothing's censored, and you're back in control. You have that full story, you can't be duped. And to finish us off, we do it by protecting your privacy. So all of your searches and your questions are anonymous. And for parents out there, we're pornography free. So if your kids are using our product, they're never going to come across adult content.
And I can attest, we use FreeSpoke inside the Freedom Chamber. FreeSpoke is a member of the Freedom Chamber, and we use it all the time. And you will label things. Hey, this is a little more right-leaning. This is a little more left-leaning. Here's a preview. I think it's a wonderful tool to use. I'm curious how it thinks of the Business Pulse. We're gonna have to put Business Pulse inside of FreeSpoke and see how it spits back out at us.
Put it to the test.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Rodmartin.org also.
Yes, rodmartin.org. Now, right there,
it will
that
come
would,
out extremely right.
that would be the test to see how red can be, right?
Right.
What's the other side saying about you? People might want to know that full story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dean or Rod, if you got questions for Kristen, I think it's an amazing tool to use. It's something that people that really truly believe in privacy and independent thinking can get all the intel they need without the bias and the filtering and the throttling. I welcome your questions to Kristen right now.
Now, tell us a little about the history of the company.
Yeah, so I worked on Capitol Hill for many years. My business partner is Todd Ricketts. He is one of the co-owners of Chicago Cubs, so people may know him that way. I experienced life in Washington, D.C. back in the day when I was on a committee and we debated these topics deeply before legislation was drafted. And I know how important it is to understand both sides. The American public benefits from that debate. So that was my passion. My business partner was seeing that Google was just putting a thumb on the scale, particularly around searching for the NRA, he'll give that example, or climate change, and just saying, look, there's multiple views here, and Google's only allowing you to see one. So about 6 years ago, we started building this product. We built the infrastructure, the index, as I referred to, and all of that work in a very important manner set us up for this AI revolution. So we can use our web index to feed these AI results and have a better grounded AI result than you're going to get in the competitors.
That's wonderful.
It is an
Yeah.
amazing tool to use for sure.
Yeah, I noticed, especially around 16 and 2020, just the incredible way Google was putting their thumb on the scale and just absolutely blanking and outrighting. And we all know the cancel culture that was going on.
Right.
So having these kind of things where we can get the information that's not censored, it's not plagiarized, it's not pushing an agenda is just unbelievably important. And it changes things when we do that. So
I
What's
think
the
it's so-
feedback, Kristen? I'm going to ask you real quick. What's the feedback been from people that are using it? Because we use it all the time and quite a bit here at the
Yeah.
Freedom Chamber and Freedom Square. What are you hearing from the end user?
We're hearing people love it, particularly when they hear something and they say, but is it true? And I think we've all had that experience. You read a story, you get kind of worked up over it, you can relate to it, you think it's probably true, but then you start to question. My sister ran into it just the other day. She was reading something on Instagram and she said, baby carrots are soaked in chlorine. If it's true, we need to just eat regular carrots. And that is it true is what we hear people love FreeSpoke for. So when they're talking to friends or scrolling on social media, then they come into FreeSpoke and they can quickly, and under 30 seconds, really, you get that whole consensus overview, the division perspectives, and the podcast insights, and you know that it's true. So we're seeing a strong user base. We drove up to 1.5 million active users. We have a really loyal, sticky user base that comes in 5 times a week. So they're showing us that they love it and they're coming back.
Cool.
Fantastic. But while we were talking, I just ran the Martin report on there, and it totally showed up red, Rod. Just so you know, just so you're completely
Good.
aware. There was no hint, shade of blue, any independent white, nothing. It was just red, meat red. Now,
Own your
are you
space.
guys developing an app with this, Kristen? Is this going to be something we're going to be able to get on Google Play and the Apple App Store?
You can get it today.
Excellent.
Go to your app store and download it today.
Fantastic. And is there going to be a premium service that people will be able to dial into inside of FreeSpoke?
There is. So when you onboard, when you download the app today, you're going to onboard and we're going to show you that you can sign up for premium. I'll give you a tip. If you read the fine print, you don't have to sign up for premium right away. You can use the app for free. But with premium, your privacy is even more protected. So we go out of our way. We don't track any of your searches today. But if you're not paying for premium, you are going to see some privacy-oriented ads. And it's impossible for us to block every single ad tracker. So what we do with premium is we go that extra step. Your privacy is fully protected and you get unlimited AI tools with premium.
Fantastic. It's freespoke.com. Download the app. Kristen, we appreciate that. We'd love to bring you back on and have more updates on what will be. I'm going to ask you right now, what's the next layer of FreeSpoke? What are you guys going to add on to it?
At the end of this month, you're going to see our AI take that next jump. It's really going to have those 3-step truth process right at your fingertips, and you'll be able to ask the follow-up question. So enhanced AI coming your way end of the month.
Yeah, because there's just so much. You never know what's BS and what's real. Is your sister soaking carrots in chlorine and stuff like that? And is Dean Owens' hat really a cowboy hat? We want to know that too. So we can put all that into FreeSpoke. FreeSpoke.com. Get the app. If you've got an Android, if you got an iPhone, doesn't matter. FreeSpoke is there available for you. Kristen, thank you so much. And thanks to Mr. Ricketts for what he's doing, because I'm sure he takes heat left and right for what you guys are up against and what you're doing. So we appreciate that.
We'll get him on your show next. He can give the next update.
Would love that. Kristen Jackson from freespoke.com. This has been the Business Pulse, and you've been inside of it, brought to you by the Freedom Chamber, online at freedomchamber.net.
my name is Dean Owen. I'm a CPA. I have a master's degree in taxation and a personal financial specialist. Tax laws are always changing. That's why you need a tax strategist,
not just a tax preparer. You need someone to help you pay the least amount of tax legally, because if your business and retirement tax planning is not tax smart, it's probably tax dumb. Let's fix that today. Call me. Let's disinherit the government and not your kids. That's what my team and I do. This is who we are. I'm a combat veteran, unapologetically American, unapologetically pro-God, pro-life, and pro-Second Amendment. If those are the values you seek in a tax and money advisor, call us. Again, let's disinherit the government and not your kids. We're not afraid to share our values, and we share them with you.